Hey YouTubers and vinyl community, this is Retro Nostalgia Fanatic, and recently you'd probably noticed that I've changed my name a little bit just so that way my name wasn't too long. So I got rid of the 2 and I just turned it to Retro Nostalgia Fan. Anyway, today I'm going to go through the rest of my Beatles LPs. This is all the albums I have left. The ones I showed you before were the UK albums. However, there were a few exceptions. Magical Mystery Tour was a US pressing, and so was Let It Be, and then a Japanese mono pressing of Yellow Submarine in that video. However, here, I'm going through all my other albums, mainly being US albums, and there's 2 bonus albums that I'm going to show you. And then that will be all of my LPs from the Beatles. This will be every Beatles album that I have, other than the ones I showed you in my other video. So this is part 2. So let's begin. First up, we got is a 70s stereo pressing of Meet the Beatles on an orange Capitol label. It has a little hole right there. Here's the record. That's side 2, by the way. Here's the Beatles' second album. This is a second pressing from 1965 or 66, I want to say. Someone's name is on the back of it, but that's alright. Here's the original inner sleeve. And here is the record in a better inner sleeve. I recently got these anti-static record sleeves for all my albums because I couldn't stand seeing my records scratch up in crappy inner sleeves. So I got those, especially for my Beatles and Rolling Stone albums. However, there's still some records that don't have one of those anti-static record sleeves, so I'm planning to get more of those for my other records. Anyway, here's another copy of Beatles' second album. This one's in stereo, and this one's a 1980s pressing. Here's the record. And then here's a Capitol re-release of Hard Day's Night. This is, again, a purple label 1980s pressing. This came out when Capitol had the rights for Hard Day's Night soundtrack. Here's the record. Up next, we got a US second pressing of something new. Here's back. Again, 1965 or 66 pressing. Just like the second album in mono that I showed you. This one's also in mono. Here's the record. Could be a first pressing, I'm not sure. It seems like it's a second pressing. But anyway, here's the Beatles story. The 70s orange Capitol label, like Meet the Beatles. Here's record 1. However, side 2 is side 4 instead. And then the disc 2 is side 2 and 3. Actually, let me show you a clear close-up. This doesn't have the anti-static record sleeves. Like I said, I don't have all of them with all my records, but I'm going to get more. There's side 2 and side 3. Alright, here's Beatles 65. This is a first pressing. This one's a first pressing right here. Here's the record. Here's the early Beatles. This is just Capitol's cash grab on Please Please Me, basically. This one's also in mono. Here's the record. It sounds pretty good. This one's in excellent condition, though I wish it had Misery and There's a Place on there. Then it would then Capitol would have had all of the Please Please Me songs. They were close though. Anyway, here's Beatles 6. Back of it. This is a 1971 Apple pressing. Here's the record. Dark green Apple label, so it's a 1971 or early 70s US pressing. On to Help. What's unique about this album is this is actually my very first Beatles album I ever had. That's right, this album was my very first Beatles album. I had this album since I was 10 years old, and I took pretty good care of it, though I threw the original inner sleeve away because I was dumb at the time, but now I really take care of my records. It's in pretty good condition, despite me having it for nearly 10 years. But it's also a mid-70s Capitol label, on orange label. And now my favorite highlight of this album collection, part 2, is this U.S. mono first pressing of Rubber Soul. This is my second U.S. first pressing in my U.S. album collection. It's not in perfect condition, but I got it for $19.99, and there's a good reason. It's because it's a first pressing, and I'll explain to that in a minute. Here's the sleeve. And here is the record. Now, this record plays pretty good. It's in very good condition. Sound quality is not perfect, but it is pretty good. And there's something I want to point out. So for Rubber Soul, I found out that this is the first pressing because you can see nowhere on the label on side 1 or side 2 does it say the Beatles. That was a misprint that Capitol did. So second pressings had the word Beatles on both sides, where it mentioned the band. But instead, just as John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Ringo Starr. And I heard that this pressing of Rubber Soul, the U.S. version, is going for about $100 or $200, especially if you got one in shrink wrap. So it's valuable to me. But that concludes my U.S. albums, and now here are the 2 bonus LPs. And then this is all the Beatles albums I have for now. Plan to get more in the future. Anyway, here's the 1981 UK import pressing of the Beatles featuring Tony Sheridan on Mr. Pickwick Records. This is actually a near mint copy. It plays flawless. It sounds beautiful. It's a UK pressing. And what's unique about it is that this has all the songs from the Beatles' Hamburg era from 1961 and possibly 1962 before EMI Records picked the band up. This might have some recordings from the Decca era. I don't know. Let me know out there, guys, in the comments section below if some of these songs were ever recorded in Decca Records before they kicked the Beatles out and didn't have faith in the band. I wasn't sure. I think these were all just during the 1961 before Decca Records, but I could be wrong. What's cool is that this near mint copy came with this postcard of the Beatles. I'm keeping that because it's awesome. It's a postcard. How cool is that? Here's the record here. And now last, my highlight. Another highlight, actually. All the Beatles albums are highlights to me. Anyway, this, my friends, is one of the rarest Beatle compilations ever. This is not a first pressing or a genuine pressing. This is a reproduction, possibly a counterfeit, but it's a reproduction version of the Beatles' hottest hits on Parlophone Records. This only came out in mono. It maybe came out in stereo, but this actually came out, from what I'm aware of, it came out only in mono, and this is a Denmark record. This only came out in Denmark, never outside the U.S., never outside of Denmark did this record came out. However, Sweden did get this record too, but not as the Beatles' hottest hits. This cover, this version of the record, only came out in Denmark. The one I'm holding here is only the Danish pressing. The Swedish version had the same cover as Something New, the Beatles. However, they replaced the name Hottest with Greatest. So instead of saying the Beatles' greatest hits, it said the Beatles... It meant to say that instead of seeing the Beatles' hottest hits, it said the Beatles' greatest hits. And it was on this side, and it has the picture of the band from Something New. And then here's let me show you the back of it. It's really amazing how this record is rare. Nobody actually talks about this, so... Although Beatles Vinyl 85, if you're watching this, I appreciate it very much, and I have subscribed to your channel. I want to say that this is a real album that came out in Denmark. This is only a Denmark version of the album. The Swedish version is the exact same track listing, just has a different sleeve. That's the only difference. The outer sleeve and cover is different, and the name Hottest is replaced with Greatest Hits instead. Anyway, if you had to buy this album and you were interested in looking through this album, just get this picture disc. This has been sold outside of Denmark, and my friends, this is the best way to get the album because it's the easiest and you don't have to pay a lot of money, because an original mono, and maybe if there was a stereo pressing, would go, original Danish first pressing and mono would go for about $1,000. I shit you not. I'm like, Jesus. It's not even the black and gold Parlophone label, but yeah, this is real. This was actually a real album. This is not a bootleg. This was actually an authentic Denmark record. It's so crazy that this is rare. I wonder why it's so rare. But I'm just happy to have this copy. It doesn't skip. It has all the songs. They perform well on my record player. I'm happy to have a Danish record. So, yeah. Even though it's not a first pressing, it's a picture disc, I'm just happy to have this. Though I would love to get an original Danish pressing of the Beatles' hottest hits. And there's only one pressing, it's the original. But this is I guess we can call this the second pressing. However, there's two variations of this picture disc of the Danish album. The Swedish album never had any other pressing. I've never seen a picture disc version of the Swedish version of Beatles' hottest hits. I call it the hottest hits, even though, like I said, the Swedish version of Beatles' hottest hits is the same thing, just with a different sleeve. The sleeve looks like the same cover from Something New, the Beatles, and Hottest is replaced with Greatest for the album title. Anyway, though I like the Denmark pressing as it looks unique. It's so cool. But yeah, this was actually a real Beatles record in Denmark. So that, my friends, concludes my Beatles collection, my whole LP collection. That's all the records I showed you from 2 videos. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a great day, and I'm planning to make more videos soon. So you all take care. Oh, by the way, this is what I look like. Ta-da! Pardon my braces, but yeah, I've been collecting Beatle records since I was 10, ever since I had the US copy of Help. But I want to say, I'm glad you enjoyed the video if you're watching, and you have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.